Blog Talk Radio.
And more so to the new and improved Tim and Corey show. We're back on bigger and better. I am Corey Brown, and I'm joined by my brother, Tim Luckett. What's up, Tim?
What's up, Corey? Glad to be back in the saddle, man. I'm ready to do this. New and improved show, new format. Excited to do it.
I'm sorry. Our guest is waiting. I'm multitasking. I don't know if y'all heard that on the broadcast. I apologize if you did. But our first guest tonight, before I bring him on, or as I bring him on, let me explain why the show is bigger and better. We're going to be interviewing awesome guests pretty much every show. And when we're not interviewing an awesome guest, or sometimes even while we're interviewing awesome guests, we're going to be talking about the current hottest current event topics, or events you just got to talk about. There's so many things we could be talking about this show, but we have a full slate tonight, so we really won't be able to get to. Tim was talking about in our production meeting some very interesting material. We may be able to get to that. We kind of booked up, so. I want to say that joining us, the show quickly will be broken up. A lot of times we'll be doing interviews, and our guests will usually have like a 30-minute window. Then we'll be bringing on another guest. The preceding guest may leave, or he may stay on the line, but then the spotlight shifts to that person during that 30-minute slot. Now, some shows, some guests may get more than, they may get an hour and a half for the whole show. It depends on the guest. But tonight we have 4 guests. I'm going to be joined shortly. I'm kind of eating up his talk time, but I don't think he'll mind too much. We're going to be joined by my buddy and East High alum, East High Blue Bombers in Cleveland, Ohio, TC. What's up, TC?
What's going on, Corey? How you doing?
You got it, brother. So we're going to, TC's going to bring a topic to the table tonight to start us off. And after TC at 8:30, or around 8:30, Coach Corey Mayfield should be calling in. 9 o'clock, we're going to have, Corey Mayfield is the owner of myhighlight.com. He's also a coach in the Arena Football League. Following him, we have Eric Riley from Cleveland, Ohio, who is a former NBA player. And then after that, at 9:30, we have former NBA player Lamond. So we're not playing around. The Tim and Corey show, we're out to get to the best guests possible. And we really, want to entertain you and give you some knowledge, even if possible. So, TC again, say hi to Tim, and let me say, anybody out there listening during the show, sometimes we may not be able to based on the time allotted, but if you would like to try to call in and say something to us or one of the guests, please dial 424-220-1869. Hit the number 1 on your keypad. That'll put you in the host queue. I'll bring you on if I can as soon as possible. So, TC, welcome again to the show. Say hi to not only Tim, but everybody out there that's listening or will listen, and drop the topic that you had on your heart that we'll talk about until about 8:30.
Okay, first I want to say hello to all the listeners. How you doing, Tim? And the topic that I'm about to bring up isn't to condemn anyone, but it's actually just to enlighten some people, to give you a run of what I'm talking about. I see things on Facebook of people saying my wife, or I see stuff of women and men, mostly women saying my boyfriend cheated on me, he did this, he did that. The topic I want to discuss is, can a boyfriend cheat on a girlfriend, or can a girlfriend cheat on a boyfriend when it's really fornication? That's my topic. Can we actually go and complain to God about fornication when, about a relationship that was started off wrong? So that's my topic. And from what I've seen, a lot of people say, well, he cheated on me, she cheated on me. And I usually sit there and be like, how can you go and complain about something that was never supposed to be that way? I'm not talking about courting, I'm not talking about dating, I'm not talking about people engaged, I'm talking about people that are shacking up, people that have baby daddy, baby mama. I mean, they're really in love with each other. They're living together, they do everything together. But I think one of the things that the PowerPoints that people miss in that is, no matter how many kids you have, no matter how much you love each other, legally you have no rights. If you ain't getting along with the mother-in-law or the father-in-law, if that person dies, they get the final say-so, because they're going to go to the next family. So, a lot of people are complaining about infidelity, but really, can we complain about infidelity when it's not marriage?
Well, I feel you. I pondered that myself, TC. But I'm gonna bring in my co-host, my brother, in. What's your insight on it, Tim?
Well, that's an interesting topic. And TC, I want to welcome you to the show, and it's good to meet you. I know that you and Corey go way back. And Corey is like a brother to me, and Corey and I have often had, very in-depth, thought-provoking topics we'll, sit and break down. And I think it's interesting because you have, and this may sound like a cop-out, but I've had this conversation. I remember one of the first times I had this conversation was in college, and a young lady, we were all sitting at a round table having lunch, and the young lady said, what's cheating? Define someone that has cheated on you and what that act entails. And does it have to be purely a sexual act? And so TC and I think Corey, and I'm not going to speak for Corey, but TC, I think where you're looking at this issue is more from not just a physical act, but from a religious standpoint. And if two unmarried people have sex or fornicate, then by definition, that's not cheating. Well, how many people see it, that's cheating on a different level. Where a lot of people are saying, well, I have a boyfriend or I have a girlfriend, they cheated on me because they had sex with someone else. But if that's not your husband or your wife, then, what you had with that person wasn't right under the, eyes of God anyway. So it's a topic that's going to elicit a lot of passionate responses. And if people are listening in, I'm sure you're going to have some people that are, going to be very vehement on both sides of the issue. So it's a broad issue. It's an issue that we could do a whole show on in many ways. But I'll say this. When I was asked that question in the cafeteria as a college freshman or sophomore, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't under the guise of religion that question was asked to me. It was asked of what violates basically. I think most people, when they talk about cheating, whatever your religious beliefs, I think most people, when they talk about cheating, they're talking about something that violates, a code that you have with someone else, a behavior you have with someone else. Now, if you want to talk about it on a much deeper level as far as, fornication and religion, then in reality, how can you say it's cheating? That's a very good point. But if we're talking about it on a broader scale, when I was asked that question, I said basically anything you're not comfortable. Let me remember how I worded it. I said cheating is anything that you would do with someone that you would feel uncomfortable your partner doing with someone else. So basically it was, if you don't want your partner kissing someone else, then if you do it, you've cheated on your partner. If you don't want your partner going behind your back and having secret conversations or physical interactions or physical sexual contact with someone else, and you do it, and you cheated on your partner. So it's almost like a do unto others as you do unto yourself. So I'm not a big Facebook user anymore. I've been on Facebook for years, but I don't often interact, so I haven't seen a lot of those conversations. But I think, TC, where you're going to find a lot of your argument is based on what people really believe is cheating, on a much smaller scale. And I think when you're bringing it on a much more religious scale, there's a lot of hypocrisy out there. There are a lot of so-called religious people who will tell you, well, I'm Christian, or I'm whatever their religious beliefs are, but you'll find that their actions often don't back up what they claim to be. And with religion, you have different interpretations on that. I mean, we could just look at what's going on in the world today. And I don't want to make this too broad of a topic. I'm going to pass it to Corey. But that's a very personal, very, very personal, very individualistic topic, because I don't think a lot of people think of cheating in the sense that you are, TC. I don't think a lot of people that consider themselves to be devout Christian or extremely religious often look at it and say, well, if I'm cohabitating with someone, I'm not right under the eyes in the eyes of God anyway. So what does it really matter what this person does to me? But I think you don't have a lot of logic. You don't have a lot of things that will make sense when you think about them in a logical sense when it comes to the matters of the heart. And so when people get involved in these interpersonal relationships with others, you throw a lot of things out of the window when it comes to just, cognizant responses to things. And I think that's what you're seeing, is that you're going to have a lot of emotion, you're going to have a lot of passion, you're going to have a lot of people that use excuses, but it's going to really shed light on a much bigger issue. And I think the much bigger issue, TC, to your question is the hypocrisy of religion and people that consider themselves to be religious. And we see that in the Muslim world. We see that in the Middle East, where you have people who have different interpretations of, the Muslim faith. And, well, you're supposed to live by this word or that word. And if you're not living by this strict code, then, you're sinning under the eyes of Allah. So you see some parallels with religion. So I didn't know what your topic was going to be, but that's a very interesting topic. I'm going to pass it to Corey. But, yeah, you're going to elicit a lot of different responses, a lot of emotions going to come with those responses with that type of topic. I mean, it's really, really interesting.
I know we've talked about it before, I think, TC, on Facebook, when we used to get things on and cracking and popping, and people mad at both me and you or whatever, different posts. When I was a little more controversial, I got really vanilla. But with Facebook, I wasn't really sure. I've taken long hiatuses. Wasn't even sure I was going to continue broadcasting, but God saw fit to keep me on, and everything is taking off. But saying that to say, I kind of see it differently now, because I was there, definitely. But I'm going to look at it from I'm going to hit it like this. I believe it now, it is cheating, but it's still sin. So it's a difference. Yeah, technically, because everybody don't serve God. Everybody, and most people, and even most people that think they're serving God don't serve Him how He wants you to serve Him. But so I can see on a natural level, a carnal level, yeah, I'm breaking a commitment to you. I, Corey Brown, am saying that you my girlfriend or whatever. And we ain't even talking about marriage, because that should be obvious to most people. But now even marriage, the institutions of marriage is not the same as it was, even in the earlier in our lifetime. Everybody on the phone is over 30. More so, over 35 even. So,
I'm 20.
Seen
I'm
this,
28, Corey. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, there you go. Well, you'll wake up one day. But no, smell the coffee. But don't let him fool you, ladies. He may look 19, but he takes great care of himself. But anyway, I saying, like, if I had a girlfriend and I'm publicly admitting or supposed to be in a monogamous relationship with her. Again, I'm not talking about the Bible, and I'm not discounting the Bible because I am a Christian, and I definitely want to be obedient to the Lord. But me making a commitment to her, just like a contract or whatever, I'm saying, you my woman, and I'm not going to step outside of this relationship. So, yeah, if I'm screwing around or whatever, I've cheated on her. But in God's eyes and according to the Bible and the Word, yeah, this is not an honorable relationship. But technically, again, a little more complicated, TC. And I don't want just me and Tim are the hosts. I want you to get back in here and, do your thing. But I want to pose this to you. So I said I believe in a lot of ways it could be cheating, but, the sin level is different. But I'm posing this. 2 Christians are dating, maybe even engaged. They have not fornicated, no premarital sex. They're both virgins. At the point in time, they're engaged, they're virgins. And then he has a weak moment, and has sex with another female. They were supposed to give me that. To that point, they've done everything according to God's law. Did he cheat on her?
Is that you're putting that question towards me, right?
To you. Yeah.
Okay, if they're engaged, then like you said, it's a contract, it's an agreement. And even in the courts, if a woman got a ring from a man and they don't go through, she has to return the ring. So, I mean, that form that they're doing it the right way, yeah, I could possibly agree with you. But when I had posed the question to you, I was talking about people that were supposed to be in church. I wasn't pointing towards the world because the world ain't going to want to hear it.
I know that part. Oh, go ahead. I'm listening.
No. I posed that question because you know how much controversy I got when I posted that. People get upset. No. I'm like, well, I'm just saying, like, is there such thing as unfaithful fornication? I mean, I don't know. That was the question. That was the question that I posed, and then I was like, it seemed kind of crazy that you would be going to God saying, the person that I decided to fornicate with went out and fornicated with somebody else. It's kind of like a drug dealer calling to complain about drugs being sold across the street, and they got drugs in their houses. Like, excuse me, I want to report some drugs being sold by my neighbor, and then, police come to take your information. You got cocaine sitting on the table. I mean, which one is worse, So, I mean, I like the way you posed it. Some people
don't see nothing wrong with that. Some people do that. I mean, the movie.
Oh, no, it happens. It happens. I mean, it happens.
No,
I'm not. I mean, matter of fact, you guys opened my eyes to a few points that I did. I never considered it from a worldly point of view. I was because I know you post a lot of godly posts and things of scripture.
Mm-hmm.
So I was when I asked the question, and ironically, some of the people that you would find in the church, I had somebody tell me the Bible is over 2,000 years, and that's old.
Exactly. And they trying to say it's outdated.
Like, wow, it actually blew me back some of the answers that I've seen. But
you got preachers preaching that now. I've heard preachers say that basically, like, oh well, and they bring in new doctrines. That's why you have so many. You got to be careful with all these translations. And see, this is when it gets into very murky and muddy waters because we're not all on the same page. It's a difference. It's just like on a team. If we got to play, imagine, I'll keep it simple like basketball because baseball got more players, football got a whole lot of players. If our starting 5, me, you, Tim, and 2 other people, if all 5 of us got a different playbook, how how well are we going to orchestrate on the court? You know what I'm saying? Run Z, or run play one. So you play one is this or that. So I'm saying all that to say the Bible. Now, even if we all in King James, you got people that refute every different, King James I've heard was a homosexual and all that, let alone, when Muslims or different religions, Jews attacking the Bible, and you got parts of it. Everybody kind of, out of the big three, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, all three of them honor the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses. All of them. And all of them revere Moses and the prophets until Jesus is the cutoff. Because, Muslims will say, well, yeah, we believe at best Jesus was a prophet, but he wasn't, although they believe Muhammad is their Jesus, in other words, because he was supposed to be, he's more than a man. They revere him, or whatever. So, and then you go to the Jews who a lot of people think one of the biggest detractors to Christianity is Islam. It's really Judaism, which is funny since Judaism spurned Christianity. Jesus was a Jew. But Jews, hate Jesus. Like I said, Islam kind of honors him, just doesn't deify him. Jews, talk junk about Jesus, although there is a movement called Jews for Jesus. So all that being relevant to the fact that if we all, but just so-called Christians, you got all these denominations and things, you have a big issue. How are we going to talk about marriage and things like that when you got people that believe, you got churches now that have first man, meaning the pastor's married to a man, or it's 2 women. So, this in its essence is even deeper than the topic of, am I cheating on you? When we got to get to the holiest relationship between man and a woman is supposed to be marriage. So that in itself distorts everything. So if people who say they're a Christian, when the Bible, a lot of Bibles, it may be watered down. I don't read anything but the King James. It's called that an abomination. So if we have lessened that, then everything else definitely in your foundation of relationships is going to falter. This is a touchy subject. But I just want to get this to you as you go back. I just want to think, but one reason I watered it down as far as and didn't just talk from a Christian standpoint or straight Bible, because I think about where most people are not there now. And a lot of these messages that's being preached is watered down. So Paul said, once I'm amongst the Greeks, basically, I speak as a Greek, a Gentile. So most people, we can't really hit them hard. You got to see where people at before you, because if you're really a believer, then I can just kind of flat out, listen, we can't fornicate. We got to be, blah, blah. You can just hit it hard. But most people ain't they ain't even in the 10 Commandments good. So to go deep into the Word is kind of futile at times. And it's not to insult anybody, but it's dealing with people based on their level of understanding. So we got about 6 minutes or so left. So I want to, pass it back to you because this is your topic. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to be transparent with I want to be transparent with the audience. Understand something. I'm not here to condemn anybody. But it's kind of hard when you sit in the church and a lot of the preachers and I'm talking about high well-known preachers said nothing when Obama okayed same-sex marriage. It's kind of hard when the pastor is preaching against homosexuality or a certain sin but won't say nothing against that couple that's popping babies left and right. Now, I'm about to be very transparent with your audience, including you guys. I'm not married. I got a woman that I have sex with. I'm not married. I know the word. And guess what? I don't make no excuse for it. So one of the things is that I look at is if I'm not making an excuse for it, why are other people trying to make an excuse for it? Yes, we're looking at marriage. Actually, she's my second ex-wife for whatever reason God worked it out. We actually stronger than we were before, and we're actually looking at going back to the altar and get it right. But I don't sit here and cover my sin and say, your sin is worse than mine. But the one thing I will say that people don't want to say, all sin is not the same. There are certain levels of sin. Just like in the world, you got misdemeanors, you got felonies. God said that there's a sin that's unpardonable, which is blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. But we just preaching all sin is sin, and they lead to the same place. But there's one sin that you can't be forgiven for. Hell has different levels, and I'm talking to people that are in the Word. I'm saying, yes, I know what I'm doing is wrong. I repent, and I'm trying to get it right. And I get it. Sometimes we fall into the lust and the works of the flesh. So I'm not here to condemn anybody, but I'm saying don't sugarcoat and be a cafe Christian and look in the Bible and try to justify what you're trying to do. Because, I mean, if I want to justify something, I could look at where it says love thy neighbor and have sex with everybody on my block and be like, well, I love my neighbor. See, everybody want to take the Bible and twist it to what they mean and what they want it to, what fits them. Nobody wants anything that's going to convict them, but actually conviction is what gets you back to the altar. Yes, you can be unfaithful. I mean, you could cheat on your taxes. I'm pretty sure you could cheat in a relationship. What I was saying is anybody that is a Christian from a standpoint, or say they're a Christian, or reading their word or studying their word, should understand that there's no such thing as unfaithful fornication. It's just not. And, you know, and to sit there and act like I'm going to go to God and say, Lord, she cheated on me with this other guy. I believe it's a scripture that says flee sexual immorality. All other sin is done outside the body, but sexual immorality is done with the body. So I'm being transparent with my brothers and sisters on the radio, if y'all listening. I'm saying, okay, if you shacking up, you fornicating, I get it. I'm there with you. But what I'm saying is, at what point are you going to stop kicking your toe against the bricks? Against the pricks, you know? At what point are you going to say, you know what, it's time for me to get it right? And that's my point. Don't sit and complain about somebody being faithful to you when you wasn't faithful to God at first. And that's where I was going. I was going from a biblical perspective, but now that you guys mentioned that everybody ain't in the Word and everybody ain't trying to receive it, I get it.
Well, but TC, you know what? You bringing up a whole lot of stuff because, and Corey and I've had this conversation before. How many people that consider themselves Christians are really adulterers and don't even know it? And a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? A lot of people that and Corey's laughing because Corey knows where I'm going with this, and I don't want it to seem like I'm judging anybody. I'm not. I'm just throwing this out there. I'm putting this out there in the ether for people to take and process. But there are a lot of people who said, look, I've never had sex outside of marriage. Been married more than one time. By in the eyes of the law of man, but are you really taking the vows that you commit to in front of Christ? You know, are you taking those seriously when you say you're marrying somebody for better or for worse, to death do you part? Not because it's no longer convenient, because they stepped outside of marriage and fornicated with somebody else, or they lied about how much money they make. It's supposed to be until death do you part with the person you married. There are a lot of people on third and fourth marriages. In their mind, aren't they really cheating on their first marriage because your vow to God was that you weren't going to get divorced until one of you died, till death do you part? So how is that convenient? So I'm saying all that to say, and this isn't passing judgment on anybody, I'm saying that all to say that people will take religion and carve and scaffold what's convenient for their belief system, or what's convenient for their ability to maintain that word, and they can manipulate it so that their weaknesses aren't magnified and put under a spotlight and say, well, you're not living a devout way of life under your belief system or your religious beliefs. So that goes back to what I said earlier. There's a lot of hypocrisy even in the so-called Christian faith. Because a lot of people say, well, I've never fornicated. I've never cheated on my wife. Well, how many of you are married to somebody and that's your first marriage, but the person you're married to, that's their third? Is that really your spouse? Because that's
very good point.
So, those are things that, like I said, this is a topic that we can really do a full 2-hour show on. So I appreciate you, TC, again, welcoming you to our show and being our first guest on the revamp of the Tim and Corey show, and I appreciate you bringing this topic to the discussion.
Well, brothers, I want to thank y'all for inviting me on the show. I want to say to your audience, I'm not here to condemn you. I just want to bring something across your mind, but so that y'all can have another fire under you and get the people going. Next show should there be women bishops? Y'all keep that in mind. I love y'all both. Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you to the audience, taking y'all time out of y'all busy day to listen to us. And thank you for giving me some perspectives that I never even thought about. And I appreciate it.
All right, TC.
Appreciate
you, brother. I have a blessed one. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have on the line, calling in, Coach Corey Mayfield, Welcome to the show, Coach.
Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
You got it. I was joking. I'm gonna put you out there. I was joking with Tim, like, I was, I'm all amped up. I'm so thankful that you agreed to come on the show, the new Tim and Corey show. And Tim is on. I know you've been dealing with me. Tim is. I'll let you and Tim, holler at each other. But I was telling Tim, like, so I'm all excited, overly excited, and telling you different things, and he was like, bro, this ain't my first rodeo. So I'm like, oh. I'm like, my fault, Coach. So, Coach, for those who don't know you, go ahead and tell them a little about you, and then we definitely want to talk about my highlight. I know you got all that ready, so without further ado, please.
All right. Like I said, I'm Corey Mayfield. I'm from Tyler, Texas, the real rose capital of the nation, Tyler, Texas, home of Earl Campbell, and very proud of that. From Oklahoma, I'm from Tyler, Texas. I went on to Oklahoma, finished up there, had a great time, learned a lot under the tutelage of Lucius Selman, Leroy Selman, the whole Selman family. Coach Switzer, and the whole Sooner family. I mean, how much better does it get in college football than that? But from there, went on to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Was drafted by the 49ers. Went on to play for the Jaguars, played for the Steelers, played overseas, played in the XFL for the Orlando Rays. Was in Barcelona for, like I said, with the XFL or NFL Europe, and just been all around the world. And been very blessed to do so with the game of football. But more importantly, been able to share with so many youngsters in the world, what it's all about. And everybody wants to look at the touchdowns and the sacks, but the game is really to glorify God. And I was blessed to do that, and I'm very proud of that.
Now, that's awesome. Hold on. Before we get to my highlight, because I want to pick your brain for a minute. So, you played for the Barry Switzer. So you got a national championship ring?
I did not. I was after the national championship.
Oh, okay. But it was still, even being recruited to Oklahoma when he was there, who was revered, because how many championships did Barry Switzer win? About 3 or so?
Yeah, he won
up
3.
There. They was doing it. Yeah, they were doing it. I know he's considered one of the greatest college football coaches of all time. So that means you had some skills. I see it says here you made the AFL All-Rookie team, and you was a Alliance Bowl champion. So
Arena Bowl, yes.
Awesome. So let's talk about now, because you're also the defensive coordinator for the Texas Revolution. And you also are the owner, CEO / the boss for myhighlight.com. So
that's my baby.
You want to talk about?
I am.
You want to talk about a little bit about the Texas Revolution? Give them a little shout out, little airtime before we get into your company, My Highlight.
Okay.
Because we got an arena team here too, so you kind of like for this show you're not the enemy.
Well, not only that, Corey, and welcome, Mr. Mayfield, because, see, I got 2 Corys, both with an E in their first name on the show. So
there you go. How unique is that?
Mr. Mayfield. But, you're calling in to really the birthplace of football. Canton, Ohio, where the Hall of Fame is where football was really created. So you got a lot of people that are going to be interested to hear, all the different levels of football that you've been involved in since because you were a 3-year starter at Oklahoma?
Yes, 4-year starter.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, 4-year starter. Okay. So you really could play then, because Oklahoma back then was a juggernaut. Not saying that it's not now, but I'm just saying during those days.
I don't get to say this much, but to the football world, to the normal person, this doesn't mean anything. But to the football world, I actually started 4 years there and started in 3 different positions, which is very rare.
Yeah, that does. I think that means a lot to people because you don't see that at all. I mean, you you hear about them raving when they put J.J. Watt on different sides of the line, and that's like a major thing. But to hear you play 3 positions in 4 years over your 4-year history, that's impressive.
Yeah,
that really is.
I'm very graciously thankful. I appreciate it.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Brown. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, I was asking, tell us, before we get to my highlight, tell us a little bit about the Texas Revolution and what y'all are doing and trying to do.
Okay. Well, actually, I took that job and with the Revolution because, like I said, I live in Forney, right there in, proud of East Texas, side of the state of Texas, like I said, in Forney. But, things didn't work out. I was gracious enough to introduce the position to one of my really good friends who I attended Oklahoma beside, Wendell Davis, who also played for the Cowboys. And he also played arena football as well. And he took the head coaching job, and, I wish him nothing but the best. Devin Wyman, who played for the New England Patriots, Super Bowl winners. I think he has a couple of Super Bowl rings. He's the offensive and defensive line coach. I took the job as assistant head coach here with the Las Vegas Outlaws. I'm in Vegas right now as we speak. I'm actually looking at the Ferris wheel out of my window right now, so please don't be mad at me. But I'm having a good time here in Vegas, enjoying myself. And Vince Neal, the rock star, is the owner of the team. Aaron Garcia is the head coach. We got a fantastic unit. We got a lot of NFL talent, a lot of big names. On paper, we're really good. So we're going to wait and see what happens out on the field, of course. And, we'll be national televised game. We'll be the national televised game Monday at 7:30 on CBS. So you guys should check us out.
Nice. We're blown away that you even doing an interview on the Tim and Corey show, and you working. So I got mad love for you. I see. So you didn't. We talking about the Texas Revolution, and you didn't move. Well, it's got to be a good job for you to leave Texas. We see you love Texas, so for you to be, there, obviously, it's a great opportunity for you. So, and I wish you much success. Even though we got the Cleveland Gladiators here, I'm rooting for you because you just shown us
Cleveland
love.
Guys, I never lost to the Cleveland Gladiators, for the record. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that.
Do y'all play them this year?
No, we don't. They're I think, Arena
okay.
2 now. They were Arena 1, but I think they're 2 now.
Oh, I didn't know it was different levels. See, I have so much to get. I haven't been in sports like I once was. I'm going to have to tighten up. But we do everything on this show, so we got to be on top of our game in so many levels. We just got through talking about relationships, the Bible, and now we talking about football. So, me and Tim, we get around. So let's talk about my highlight.
Oh, man, look. You put a smile on, when you just said it, you put a smile on my face. Let me tell you about my highlight. The idea came from years and years of training kids. I had a youth organization in East Texas called the East Texas Youth Association, a 501c nonprofit. I had it for over, 12, 13 years, I think. And, as youth football evolved, my kids got older, and I was doing different things as far as leaving town, coaching, and all this kind of stuff. So I had so many kids reaching out to me for information. And, you guys would not believe how much information is lost, through the shuffle of all these kids going through high school. And it's just like recycling, paper. You know what I mean? And it's really, really sad because some of these kids have the ability but don't have the knowledge. And I don't mean just books. I mean knowledge about how to get in school, knowledge about how to take the test, knowledge about, how to study for the test. But, let's even take it before that. They don't even have knowledge because I didn't. You know what I mean? I'm proof. But they didn't have knowledge about how to be recruited. They're just happy Coach Switzer stepped in their living room and they're jumping up and down, and that's not the goal. Each parent should have an understanding that that kid is being recruited. That kid's going to be away from their house. They're basically giving their kid away, at 17, 18 years old, and you're asking this university to look for the betterment of my kid. Well, guess what? It's a business, you know what I mean? So that kid gets to that university, and he doesn't know how to adapt. He doesn't know how to handle himself. He doesn't know how to, handle money. He doesn't know how to handle, and not that the NCAA gives him money, but just the fact that he has to be on his own, wash his own clothes, feed himself. All the little nuances that no one really, we just take for granted because it just happens. And, you can say that it's part of growing up, but when you're in a mega sphere like the NCAA football and basketball and all these sports, those kids are really out on their own. So what my highlight has done is we've broken it down, and it's free. That's the beauty. People don't understand it, but it's free. All you have to do is go on the website and read. And if you can read or you want to read, or it will help you read it, whatever you want. But we want you to have that information, every kid, every mother, and more importantly, we want the schools to be educated, because I don't know if the kids don't. Let me tell you something. It's like this. Say your son is a Division I prospect, right? And whatever sport he plays, or she, whatever sport they play, and they're going to be recruited. I asked parents this the first time. What 10 questions do you have for that university that's going to come visit your son? And either one of you guys, please be free to answer.
Wow.
I'll
let Tim go. Neither one of us got kids, so it's kind of but I would think, I'll say, one of the things, a lot of people, we kind of, college is kind of a foregone conclusion, especially in the NBA level. Guys just going for that 1 year, and so they ain't really thinking about the college experience. But most people are looking past to the professional level, hoping their kid is the next, face of that specific sport. But we need to talk about how are you going to treat my child in your at your university as far as his education. Right. How many of your athletes graduate? If they are not pro prospects, how do you treat them? If they're not the star player, and things of that nature, because we know, if my child get injured, are you just going to throw him away and get the next blue chipper?
There you go. And watch this.
Well, I think
here's a stickler. Your kid has you guys probably think scholarships are for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Because they used to be. No, they're 1 year. And if your daughter doesn't pan out in that 1 year, guess what? Thanks, ma'am, for coming out. Thanks, son. God bless you.
Wow.
Absolutely. And they're waiting on the next scholarship, because here's what happens. If the universities don't reach their academic, whatever their scores are, if they don't reach those numbers as far as graduation and GPAs and all that stuff, because they get paid for it. So what happens to the kid? Why don't the kid get paid for it? I mean, that's a whole other subject. But, I'm trying to help the kids understand that if you make a 20 and then for some reason, all minority kids seems like they make in between 16 and 18, 19 on the ACT. Why is that? And the test is the 9th grade aptitude test. It doesn't go up to the 12th grade. So what I'm saying is we have to not only educate our kids on the test, but we have to educate them on how to take the test and how to apply the questions on the test to the answer. And that's what we don't understand. So, and that's the difference between going to a Division III school and going to a Division I school for free. Just that test score. So if you score 18, you can't qualify for a Division I school. So, and if you score up to 28 and above, and I think the highest you can score is a 36. So if you score 28, then you have a full ride academically, and you're more attractive to a university to be recruited. Because now I can give you a half a scholarship athletically and give you the rest, room and board and et cetera, in academically.
Wow. I think one of the biggest issues, Corey, is when you have that big-time coach coming into a parent's living room, even though they may be college educated, this may be their first experience having a student athlete be recruited to that degree.
No question.
And so there's a lot of lack of experience in what's the best situation for my child, because even though we know the term is student athlete, the better the athlete, the more that's going to be the focus if a big program is recruiting them. And even though Corey brought up some great questions, as far as academically, you see some of the biggest programs, and I'm not going to name any campuses, but in recent weeks we've seen big college programs, top 5 in certain sports, where it's a systemic cheating for those athletes, where they're taking classes that have no bearing on, graduating or anything, or they don't even have to go to those classes, and they're still getting A's. So they're trying to inflate.
The classrooms are not even on campus. That's how pitiful it is.
Exactly. And so,
you got a degree in lamp, in screwing a lamp together.
Right. Exactly.
I'm about to start some junk, Corey, and I'm confused when Tim's saying Corey. I'm like, well, he's talking to me, so I'm all messed up right now. But I got something for you. I just thought about it, and I didn't, not to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna do it. Sorry. What do you think about SAE? Because it happened on y'all campus. SAE, the whole big, and that's a part of it too. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because look what it did to y'all. Your alum lost a big time. I think he decommitted. I don't know if he recommitted back, but I know I think a 5-star recruit changed his mind just based on that YouTube video. So that has big effect. And then, of course, there was a lot of flack, tension, and things of that nature. So if you could, and I know those are the type of things, well, it's relevant to what you're doing. So.
Right. And you're exactly right, because the teaching goes like this. The Bible says, take care of my children. Right, so that's my purpose. That's what I'm doing. That's why I was blessed to be able to do it. So I want others to enjoy it. I want the guy down the road to be able to go to Europe and see Spain and Barcelona and Italy. I mean, the game of sports is so wonderful, but you have to understand it's a business, and that business is thriving. And as long as it's thriving, there are going to be sharks. There's going to be sharks. So, and the stuff that happened at Oklahoma, it's sad. And my heart goes out to that fraternity, and let me tell you why. For one, you not only embarrassed your family, each one of those young men on that bus singing that stupid song, but you also embarrassed yourselves, and you have to live with that for the rest of your life. And we all know it happens. And people, I've heard rappers say, oh, racism is over. You dude, okay, come here within 5 feet of me so I can slap the snot out of you. Because it's not over. It's far from over. But let's be realistic. We have to deal with it, okay? And how you deal with it is how you present yourself and how you come across to others. Now, what they did, they embarrassed the entire university. They violated so many Sooners, right? But here's the deal. You made the mistake. I would like an apology soon, a public apology. I don't know how they're going to do it because they kicked them off, but they have to apologize. That national fraternity has to do that. Now, if they don't, they'll probably never be back at Oklahoma, and I'm sure everybody there will be fine with that. But they're not the only fraternity doing it. So where does it stop? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just something that we have to deal with in life. And until more people become educated, to more people become aware of what's going on in their surroundings. It's like my son, we're going to the fair, and I live in Dallas, and the Cotton Bowl's is sunny South Dallas. And I'm teaching him, like, hey, man, if you get out of the car, look behind you. You know what I mean? These people out here, the world is hungry. You know what I mean? And you're no different. You can become that victim. And I don't want anyone growing up in this world feeling like a victim, but you have to understand there's circumstances. Like if you get out of the car with a gold watch on and a big diamond ring, you got a good chance of becoming a victim in that area. It's just how it is. Right. So as long as we're aware of that and we can deal with it, then we can channel our attention to other things that we want to enjoy in life. And That's all it's about, man. You just got to teach kids, and those dumb kids on the bus, they didn't know any better. They were around their friends. They were probably drunk as all those skunks, and they're having a good time. They made a bad decision. So I don't hold any grudges against them. They made a poor choice. You know, we've all made poor choices, and I pray for them, and I pray for their families, and I hope they have a wonderful life for. But they got to pay for what they did. Now, don't get it twisted. That ain't up to me, but they will pay for it.
Mr. Mayfield, let me ask you this, because you did bring up that you have a son, and
yes.
There's a discussion that I think is starting to gain momentum, football particularly with the CTE injuries.
Right.
Would you allow your son to play football?
Hell yeah, absolutely, man. Let me tell you something.
Well, the reason I ask that is because I've had I've had family members that played in the NFL, and I know a lot of some of my friends that have played at a very high level of college football and semi-pro pro football, and a lot of them are now starting to say, and they've been saying this for a few years, that they won't allow their son to play football. So I just wanted to get your perspective on that, because I'm starting to hear more and more of a lot of former football players saying they're not going to allow their sons to play football. And you're pretty emphatic, you would allow to. So
absolutely, man. Let me tell you something. The game, NFL has done a wonderful job. And people say, it's gotten soft. Well, it's saving lives, so it deserves to be a little softer, But if I play basketball and I jump up and down on my foot for, 15 years, I'm probably going to have foot problems. What am I don't want to play basketball anymore. It's a way of life. You give up something to have something. And that's just part of it. And unfortunately, the CTE at the level that it is, it's disappointing that the NFL teams haven't stepped up. That's what's disappointing. It's disappointing that the NFLPA hasn't done a better job at recognizing those problems and bringing them to a forefront to deal with them, in the past. Because there's no reason for Tony Dorsett and others after him to still be dealing with that stuff. So I'm good friends with Isaiah Robertson, who's one of the greatest linebackers that ever played the game. We work together hand in hand. He has the House of Isaiah in Maybank, Texas. A wonderful program. He's helping a lot of young men and women. But with that said, he played 12 years and was 11-time All-Pro. I don't know if you guys remember. He's the guy that Earl Campbell ran over and came out of his jersey. That's him. Wow. That's an 11-time All-Pro Earl Campbell ran over, believe it or not.
Wow. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But concussions are serious, and, I teach my son how to tackle. Doing the Oklahoma drill, that stuff is outdated. It's dated. You can't line kids up 10 yards away from each other and tell them to run into each other. That's ridiculous. But I can tell you to throw this ball, and I can tell you to wrap your hands and the right position of your head and how to, use your hips and feet to tackle. And you can still be effective doing it. So I'm going to make the same tackle, the same amount of plays, and we're going to leave the game very healthy. So I'm okay with that.
Do you think that, these athletes ain't no joke now. You got, like J.J. Watt and dudes 6'7", 35, 40-inch verticals. You got linebackers now running 4.5s and crazy stuff. You got Javon Curse, type dudes, or Jadeveon Clowney. Before Jadeveon, it was Javon, even though it's kind of funny. And Javon had all those injuries as well. So, some of the biggest freaks of nature seem like we never get to see fully what they can do, especially those linemen, those tweener guys who really they got linebacker speed and lineman height or whatever. But do you think is it that the game is more? These guys are like just bigger, stronger, faster that we're having so many concussions, or is it that we always had them, they just wasn't diagnosed before? Do you think it's more frequent now? Because a lot of people think, because like people say, like, Jim Brown wouldn't run over these linebackers. So there's always a debate about the eras. Like, who's the greatest running back? It got to be Barry Sanders, I know it's an Oklahoma guy, but
That's
Oklahoma State guy. So
that's state. That's state.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm talking about but he's from Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, right?
I think he's from Kansas, but that's okay. I know where you're going.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay, Google. I'm gonna have to Google better. Darn it! but yeah, I knew he played for Oklahoma State. But you know, I mean, because you know, one of the things with Tim, well, the NFL ain't got no choice because they got a $1 billion lawsuit. So you know, if the NFL start getting these big paychecks, writing these checks, they're going to make the teams. You know, they're going to put major pressure on teams and taking draft picks, all these things, because, I mean, God forbid, but you know where it's headed. We're close to seeing a guy die on the field in either college football or I mean, you don't think so? I've seen some hits that seem, or like, what if my helmet come off? You know what I'm saying? I'm amazed. I've seen dudes' helmets come off. They done hit helmet to head. Things like that. I mean, but it can happen. We don't want to see it.
No, we don't. And let me share something with you. In the 1960s and 70s, there was a team called the Oakland Raiders, right? They were some of the dirtiest SOBs tagged by the NFL to ever play the game. And I'm good friends with one of them, George Atkins, and what a wonderful man he is. I mean, just a very, very inspirational human being. But he played with Jack Tatum, and they were notorious for taking shots, and he's fine. But he's had problems, you know, and don't get it twisted. I'm not saying the NFL guys I would not ever dare disrespect the NFL by saying that. There are some men that are severely injured, no question. And they've actually done a study, and I think 100 or 90-something out of 100 men, you know, were diagnosed and had, you know, debilitating, categories of CTE. You know, there's 3 stages or whatnot. So it is real, you know, and that's real. But so is a factory worker that goes to work and does construction and hurts his back or hurts his arm or hurts his shoulder. You know, it's a sport. You know, you run into people and you use your head. Now, here's what's sad. Why can't we find a helmet to, you know, take some of the pressure off the hit? You know, we put bumpers on cars. We make all these devices, you know, but we can't scientifically find the answer for the helmet. Why? So there are a lot of theories going around. There are, you know, really nice helmets being made now that are a lot different than 10 years ago. So I think from that standpoint, I'm pleased with the NFL, but they got to pay, no question, for the injuries. You know, it's imperative that they do that, and it's the only right thing to do. So some of the families are really in bad shape, like Junior Seau's family and so many others. You know, I don't want to name, but you know, there's a lot of men out there hurting, no question.
That's definitely.
And I know I didn't answer your question, but I made a statement.
No,
but,
that's fine.
You know, it's kind of
that was awesome.
I think it's kind of a little bit of both. I think that a lot of the concussions and, you know, former errors really weren't diagnosed, but you also have much better and stronger athletes now. So I think you're going to see a higher occurrence, but there were more occurrences in the past that went undiagnosed. So I think it's a combination of both. I really do.
Corey, let me tell you, man, when I played football and I came off the field many times, and I was a little woozy, you know what the coach said? Suck it up, son. You just got dinged up.
Right.
that was the expression back in the day. You're dinged up. You got your bell rung. Suck it up. Let's go.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I've seen guys break fingers and dislocate wrists and, you know what I'm saying, break their thumbs, like their thumb is backwards, and, you know, they twist it back on, put some tape on it, and it swells up, and suck it up. Let's go. Because you feed your family, you know. This man's making $5 million. He's not going to go to work because he broke his finger.
Right. Yeah. Mr. Mayfield, give everyone that's listening your website again, because I think that's really important. I think a lot of parents are really just happy that their kids are being recruited and don't really think, you know, what do I need to ask, you know, for the benefit of my kid before, you know, we make that major, because that's a life-changing move for, you know, a lot of families when they, you know, sign that commitment letter or to go to a particular university. And so give everyone that website so that everyone can log on.
Okay. Yeah.
No problem. It's MYHILITE, and it's myhighlight.com. And the college readiness part, a section of this deal is myhighlight, MYHILITE, CRC.org. And that's the part where you're going to prepare for your SAT, ACT, and we're going to teach you how to study for it, and et cetera.
Awesome.
But getting back to my highlight, let me show you this. Let me share something with you guys. Okay, so I train kids, right? I train young men, and I help them get into college. Like I said, I mentioned Isaiah earlier, and Isaiah, myself, we helped a kid named Trey Matoy. He went to Oklahoma. He got in some little incidents, and he had a little case pending, whatnot. So I'm reaching out to those kids. This kid got kicked out of school. What does he do? Nobody talks about that kid anymore, right? So what I decided to do was go reach out to those kids. Hey, I want to help you get back in school, but here's the program you got to get on. And here's the course, okay? There's a ethos side of this, and we're going to teach you how to handle life. Because these young men have been given everything. Oh, man, I'll get you this. I'll get you this. You ain't got to do it. Don't worry about it. I got you. Pat you on the back and tell you how great you are. You know, and that's the life of a lot of great athletes. So when it doesn't turn out to be the way they thought it would be, what do? And that's where we come in. We try to get these kids that have gotten kicked out of these schools, these big universities or whatnot, and we get them placed in the other schools. You know, I've sent a few kids to Southern University. I've sent a couple to Jackson State, Stephen F. Austin, and so forth. Not that Stephen F. Austin's small, but, you know, and we're just trying to make a difference. And if we can find enough kids like that, all you got to do is call my phone, and it's not going to cost you anything. I'm going to help you. And it's just sharing information. And that's what my highlight is, the sharing of information.
That's awesome. I hate to cut you off. We got Eric Riley on the line it's now his segment. But, Corey, we got to bring you back on. I know you a busy man.
Definitely.
We Facebook friends. I don't want you to be a stranger. We can talk more about it. I mean, I really enjoyed it, especially, you know, our first show under the new format. I mean, you know, I'm not kicking you off the line, but we're just going to go now spotlight Eric in fairness to him.
Oh, cool.
But, again,
and y'all,
one last thing. Yes,
one last thing. My son's name is Corey, Corey Mayfield Jr., and I want the world to know, keep your eye on him. He just went to the NUC camp. He got first place. He was the number one player there. He ran a 4.640. He's 15 years old in the ninth grade. He ran a 4.3 short shuttle. He's the number one DB, Nike Spark. He played for Dion the Truth. He goes to a private school in Dallas. Parish Episcopal. Shout out to Coach Natty and all the whole coaching staff and football team. We won the state championship this year. So real exciting year for my son. I'm really excited for my family and the game of football. And I'm very excited, equally excited for you guys' radio show. And I hope like hell you guys kick ass. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric Riley, thank you for your patience. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you.
Now we're going from Oklahoma and Texas to Cleveland, Ohio. Shout out to the Clevelanders.
The land, yes, the land.
Right. Eric, tell the listeners, thanks for your patience, brother. Thanks for coming on to the show. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself before we just start picking your brain. I've been looking at Wikipedia and at all this good stuff, so the floor is yours.
Oh man, you know what? My daughter just ran up on me. I knew it. As soon as I get on the phone, it was gonna happen. Can you repeat that? What you just said? Hello?
Tell before we start picking your brain with the questions, tell everybody a little bit about your background, you know, your bio, a little bio.
Oh, okay. We'll go from there. Yeah, I'm from Cleveland. I went to St. Joe's. Grew up in East Cleveland. Went to Kirk. I don't know if you guys know that. But I should have went to Shaw, but I ended up going to St. Joe's. Then I signed to Michigan out of school, and then went to NBA after that. Went to the Rockets. About 5 different teams. And then went overseas for like 9 years, and that's my basketball story right there in a nutshell.
Eric, this is Tim.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
And welcome to the show.
Okay.
Eric, have you've played in open gym at Woodland, Cleveland State before, haven't you?
Oh,
You've been down in Cleveland State.
Yeah.
I don't think Corey realizes we've actually been on the same court with Eric before.
Okay. When did we play? Recently, or it was a while back?
We're talking
this had
90s.
been years ago.
Might have been.
When Woodland used to be pumping, when all the pros used to come down there.
Oh yeah,
you used to have Mouse McFadden and people like that.
Yeah,
but,
it wouldn't. If it wasn't for Woodland Gym, I probably wouldn't have made it to the NBA for sure. Even D1, because I played against all the Cavs, all the other guys around areas in college, all the top high school players. So yeah, that started. Treg used to drag me down there. Treg Lee, so he was a legend in Cleveland.
Right. Yeah, Treg was big.
Ohio State.
Definitely. Go ahead, Corey. I didn't know.
Oh, no, you're fine. Eric, why did you choose Michigan?
Yeah, that's a question that a lot of people want to know coming out of Ohio. But the story was, I just didn't like the coach. I didn't like Gary Williams because he just didn't, he wasn't my type of coach. I didn't like all the screaming and cussing and hollering, at the time. So, I felt, why go to some, coach like that when I didn't have to? So, that was the main reason. And then probably the second biggest reason was because of Treg. I didn't want to follow in his footsteps again after, spending 3 years in high school under his shadow. So those are the two biggest reasons. If it wasn't for those two reasons, I definitely would have went. Because I did like the university. I liked the coach. I liked the guys that were recruiting me, Ayers, and, but then he left, I think, probably the second year, maybe my junior year, so I could have been, it could have worked out really well. But, hey, everything else, it turned out well, the choice I made.
How did you like playing with the Fab Five?
Oh, yeah, that whole situation was, it wasn't, looking back, it was enjoyable, but at the time it wasn't because, I put my time in as far as, my 2-3 years of practicing. And, in college, you only have your last 2 years to really, back then, you only had your last 2 years to really prove that you can play. So, but I had proved enough, I guess, my sophomore year when I got big minutes that I can play. So that helped me because most guys, don't get drafted, not, coming off the bench in college. That's almost unheard of now.
Right. How big was the spotlight playing with, in Michigan, and you got, these recruits coming in, the Fab Five, and was that spotlight just magnified that much more once, there was that much attention on the program?
Oh yeah, we won a championship my freshman year. So, once, after we did that, we got the spotlight from pretty much day one after that because I think I played every one of my college games on ABC. So I got, exposure that hardly is, no matter what you can do, if all your games are on national TV, you can't have some better exposure than that. So, and then when they came, it just stepped it up another level. It was almost like traveling with rock stars. I saw the difference in both teams. 89 team was a better team. But the Fab Five, they changed pretty much everything as far as the culture. They were really good on the court, and they had that, they had that something special where people just wanted to see and wanted to be a part of. And so, I couldn't be mad about not playing because they were pretty special.
Was Chris Webber that good? Because I know he jumped from the foul line on us. Y'all came to the convo, and because Mike Boyd used to coach for Michigan. You knew Boyd was there with you, right?
Yeah, he was
Coach Boyd.
Yeah.
So so we had that Michigan Cleveland State affiliation then, and I remember Chris. They got a steal and kicked it out to him or something, and he just did a lean in from the foul line. I was like, oh my gosh! Y'all just
Yeah,
I don't like to say that I like Michigan. You know, looking back now when I watched the 5-5 special on the ESPN 30 for 30, and I really enjoyed it. But I couldn't stand y'all because, you know, I wanted Jimmy and Jackson and them to do their thing to y'all. But as a matter of fact, I mean, they were dominating the Big Ten until we got to it was like y'all just clicked once the Big Ten tournament started. Cause, they won the conference championship during the regular season.
We've always been, especially even when we won the championship, we didn't win the Big Ten that year either. We've always been tournament-style type teams. We could focus, you know, for 4 or 5 games, 6-game stretch, but anything longer, we got bored. And that was just mainly because of coaching. You know, I wouldn't say Fisher was a bad coach, but he just didn't, you know, he wore on you over a long season, and you sort of, you know, he didn't keep guys together for a longer part of, you know, for the Big Ten season, because, you know, that gets really long and dreadful during the bad weather periods. But he short periods of time, he definitely kept us focused. So he was good on that end. But, I was just talking to Chris Gent when we had our reunion, and if I would have went to Ohio State, we probably would have did much better. So that would have definitely changed some things in the Big Ten.
Right. But so Chris Webber was that hard to check? I mean, what was the practice?
No, I mean, he was. I mean, you couldn't really check him. I mean, because if a guy, all you had to do is throw it on the right or the left side of the backboard, he's catching it. And for a guard, that was. I mean, you're gonna go to him, and he's gonna grab every rebound that's near him, and he's gonna dunk everything. So he was pretty much unstoppable, especially when you consider he was a freshman. That was just unheard of back then.
Yeah, he looked like, much like. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Eric, let's talk about your the game you had specifically in '92 during the tournament. You said you guys were more of a tournament team than kind of a regular season team, but you had a very strong performance that game. In the second, I think it was the second round? You guys were playing.
I think it's Oklahoma State you're talking about.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very strong game for you.
Yeah, that was just one of those type of games where, you know, Juwan got in foul trouble. I think Chris was in a little foul trouble. So I just was able to get more minutes. And by then, I was seasoned. I probably played 50 games in the tournament. I played a lot of games at that point. So it was just stepping up and doing what I knew I can do. And I knew I can do it the whole year, it just wasn't getting opportunities. But it was okay, It was better than playing for some small school, not getting any, being the man and not seeing you at all. So I definitely took it upon myself to, take advantage of the opportunity. And that's part of any younger kids that's listening now. If you get an opportunity to show your skills, even if it's just 10 minutes, do go all out and just take advantage of the opportunity, because you just never know when you're going to get another chance. Because it's always, it's always, you can say, oh, well, I should get another chance. Well, you didn't take advantage of the opportunity. You got to, show what you had. So that was my mentality at that point.
I didn't realize, and I didn't want this to turn into like, Corey Brown loves Chris Webber so much show. I was just wondering, because I know he was so dominant. But, because it is about you, brother. But, you brought up
he was amazing. He's an NBA Hall of Famer. I understand, because I was amazed when I played against him.
Well, yeah, I can only some of his high school highlights or whatever. But again, like you said, one of the things, because I remember it just seemed like, there was all the hoopla, but y'all going to, I didn't even realize that the stint between NCAA championships was that close. So, I could easily talk about the people you played with or was on the team with when you was a freshman. Glenn Rice.
Exactly. They were just as good. They were just as good.
Oh, my God. Do you think he's one of the greatest shooters in NBA history? Now, I seen him in a practice at the Convo when he was with the Heat, and he was shooting regular jumpers from half court. Solid stroke. Yeah. Nothing but net.
He is definitely up. If he's not in the top 10, he's definitely close, because I've seen times where he would go in practice and not miss. And I was like, has he missed today? Like, and then one of the managers would come over and say he has not missed a shot. And it's like, how you go a whole practice and not miss a shot? And he did it on the regular. And he's definitely.
And when he's 6'8"?
Yeah, he's 6'8". And with we talking about Glenn Rice, so you might know. He was one of the most competitive, toughest guys I ever played with because he's the best player on the team. So he reminds me of his competitive spirit. Reminds me of Akeem. That's how he is similar. How
you know I'm getting to that.
Lead.
I definitely want to know what it's like to play with the Dream. Well, I was telling Tim, because Tim didn't really know. You know, I've been basically working with y'all through Facebook, you, Corey, and the different guests that's coming on. So Tim hasn't. Yeah. He's kind of learning, like, what? Who's coming on the show or whatever? So he's kind of at a disadvantage that way. But I was telling him in our production meeting, like, man, you know, the people you play with, and, you know, I'm just being impressed with you, how long you played. But, and I was like, wow, you know, because leading to that, what was it like to check the Dream in practice?
Oh, my God. You know what? you know what? It helped me. It helped me with my game. I mean, if I would have got a favorable, you know, going to a different team other than the Clippers, you know, I played well when I went there, but he definitely helped me become the player, you know, just to play as long as I did. Because every day we would play one-on-one, and he loved playing one-on-one. Like, that's what keeps him sharp, playing one-on-one. And so, basically, if you're the third center or the forward, whatever, he's going to pick you out and say, let's play one-on-one every day. Every day. We probably play up to 10, probably 4 or 5 games a day. And come on, I'm a rookie. I'm able to play with the Hall of Famer every day. But, yeah, so he was amazing. Like, I was able to guard him because I was long. Like, if you're long, he has problems with long guys that can move. But other than that, you really couldn't stop him. I mean, he can shoot, he can jump, he's got footwork that was like a guard. I mean, it was unbelievable. Better than some guards. But, yeah, he was unbelievable.
He was your teammate, but you know when he was at Phi Slamma Jamma at the University of Houston with Clyde, it was just like look up in the sky. I mean, because when he first got in the league with Houston, when he was there with Ralph Sampson, I mean, he didn't have all that moves. That's the amazing thing, and again, for people listening, how, you know, a lot of people just this is like today's NBA players, and we can talk about today's NBA and the Cavs, you being a Clevelander, and that as well, possibly in the time allotted. But when I look at how, because Akeem got up for a 7-footer and he played soccer, didn't learn basketball until his 12th grade year and all that stuff, but he used to get up so high. I mean, the oops that he used to catch, and I got his highlight tape or had his DVD. I mean, he used to jump. But then to see by the time you get there, like in 93, 94, when he doing the dream shake, he's crossing over people at the foul line. Like he freaked David Robinson on that one play in the playoffs so bad. When they was pumping him, because I think David had won the MVP that year.
Yep, and he still had that athletic ability of, you know, jumping out the gym. So he had it all. And it just came, during them years, it just came together for him. He had the team around him. He had, you know, all the support system for that to happen. And it did. Yeah.
So you got an NCAA championship. You've been to 3. Because y'all went back to back with the Fab Five, and then you got an NBA championship. So I would say that's not a bad day at the office.
No,
first and foremost.
No, you know what? I was definitely blessed to be in some good situations, but you know, it took a lot of hard work. It wasn't like I was handed, because to me, in my mind, I felt I could have been, you know, Tim Duncan before Tim Duncan. Because I felt I had just the same type of skills he had, but I probably jumped a little higher, was a little more athletic. But, you know, I didn't go to a situation where he was, you know, where he was the man, and I could have just been the man. So I definitely felt I was Tim Duncan before Tim Duncan.
What was your numbers at St. Joe's?
I don't really remember, but I know.
Roughly.
Because I saw it a while back. about 5, 6 years ago, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize I averaged. It was like 25, like 14 rebounds and like 6, 7 blocks a game. It was something. And I was surprised when I saw it. I was like,
triple-double?
wow, I did about a number. Yeah, it was close.
Right.
I was like, wow. Yeah, but it was just because the same year I was able to just be the man. I wasn't, playing off
25,
anyone.
14, and 7. Yeah,
it was
that's a pretty good day at the office every night.
Yeah,
That'll get you a scholarship to Michigan or other places.
What really got me on national notice is when I went to that a tournament in Arkansas, and I think I still hold the rebounding record there. When I got like 25, 26 rebounds in one game, and they were like, wow. This kid is coming along.
Wow.
Yeah. That's interesting that you brought that up. I know that, Cleveland has had, a history where you had like Charles Oakley's and Clark Kellogg's, Brad Sellers, Earl Boykins, a lot of, people from the Cleveland area that made it, had prominent college careers and then go on and have, pro careers. Do you feel like there's been a drop-off of Cleveland area basketball players making it to that higher level? I mean, because I feel like I've seen that over the recent decade or so. How do you feel? Do you feel like that's you see that happening too? I don't know how much you're keeping an eye on what's going on. I know we have like Terry Rozier now, who went to Shaker, and he's actually, pretty prominent for Louisville, but you don't really see that. You don't really see a lot of Cleveland basketball players now really getting to that next level after college like you guys did. And I don't know if you've noticed that or not, but if you have any opinion on that.
I really haven't been able to keep an eye on it. And it's tough to really tell because even during the time when I came, I don't really know the numbers because, every year you got at least 5 or 10 that's going D1, high D1, out the city. And it just depends on, the school they choose. Just like the kid from St. Joe's, he's going to Kansas. What's his name? Carlton Bragg? Yeah, he's got the opportunity to become whatever, he wants. And hopefully if he gets the right, situation there, he's going to be in the NBA. You just never know. And you won't, and most guys, unless they make a name for themselves in college, no one's going to really remember you, really. Just maybe remember you from high school, but you got to go and make a name for yourself. And it's not easy. It's not easy, especially if you leave the state. It's even worse because you're going to have to battle all the guys from this state. They're going to get the first opportunity no matter what because they got the in-state kids. So it's tough to make it out of Cleveland when you leave the state because it's a lot harder than staying in Ohio, going to Ohio school. So it is what it is. It all comes around. Maybe 5 years from now, maybe more or less. But Cleveland is pretty, it's on the map for sure for coaches, college coaches come and check them out. Because they, I don't know how many this year going D1, but, it's a decent amount of kids going D1 this year.
Well, the reason I asked you that too, Eric, was because as well as the Cavs are doing, they're still. I've noticed that, and we're the Vegas favorites to win the whole NBA championship this year. There's still a lot of focus just kind of on the Browns, and it seems like Cleveland really has started to embrace more of a football. It's a lot of football players leave the area and go on to have noticeable careers. And I was just wondering. And I know you said you really haven't been keeping up with it, but I was just wondering, because I've kind of seen where it's more of an emphasis, like football seems to be really, especially
football is the number one sport in Ohio, so you can't deny that. It's just number one, and it's probably going to stay that way. Because anytime you can sell out a stadium like the Browns and not be good for 20 years, they tell you. They're good. They got good fans. So, they're always going to – football is always going to be number one, and basketball, you might get like times we had where you have a special class like we did at Joe's and, where it's just, it's just like, hell, my class in Joe's is just as good as the classes from Michigan and, being at the Rockets. If you think about it, with Treg and John Buford, and, that team there was original for high school.
Right.
So, I mean, certain years you're going to have teams like that, the David Lighty type teams, what's the hype teams with the guard?
Damon Stringer.
Damon, yep.
Jeremy Holmes.
That class. Yeah, you're going to have, every 10 years or so, you're going to have a team that's just special that's going to take some of the media away from football. But overall, it's a football state. It's a football city. And, you hope to be able to make a mark if you play basketball during your time in your career in high school there. Yeah.
A few years back, you started a foundation. Am I correct?
Yes, I did. I started a foundation there, and then I came back to Houston. And I really just been dealing with my kids so much I haven't been able to register here and do anything. But yeah, I started it there. It was called the High Rise Foundation, and I was doing tutoring for kids and doing clinics, and doing just things to give back to the community. And it went well for about 2 or 3 years, but then I moved back here, and I wasn't able to really keep it going because I have so many kids here.
Right.
Play Mr. Miles. Yeah.
So what are you doing now, Eric? What are you into?
Oh, right now I'm just at home raising kids. We have 4 of them, and so one is 2, and she's we don't do daycare, so I'm taking care of the kids, and then just right now doing that until they start school. Then I might start back my foundation, doing more, doing some more clinics down here and doing different things, maybe some camps. So right now I'm just got that on hold and taking care of the kids. Yeah.
Do you miss Cleveland?
Yeah, I do. I miss my family. I don't miss the weather.
Right.
Weather at all.
Yeah, it's hard to compete with Houston's weather. I tell you, it's hard to compete.
I do miss the food though. I miss the food. Cleveland got some good food. Definitely miss the food. I miss the corned beef sandwiches and the Kim's wings, and I miss the food there. It's really good.
Polish boys.
Yep.
Right. I couldn't believe that the South doesn't have corned beef sandwiches, because I stayed in Georgia off and on, and that was just so strange to me, So I can relate. But you got. Do you get the chance to check out the Rockets and Dwight Howard, and y'all got it kind of going on a little bit there. James Harden, you go there.
Yeah, I go probably a couple of times a year, just because I don't really try to beg for tickets, and the prices are ridiculous. So I'm not going to imagine. So I just I watch them on TV. And, I go a couple times a year. But they definitely got something special that's coming together. They finally, after all these 1,000 trades they made, finally got a good nucleus right now. Hopefully they can keep it for a little bit. But I doubt that with the general manager making so many moves. But if they do keep this nucleus, I think they got a good chance over the next 2 or 3 years to at least get to the finals. And then, anything happens once you get there. But,
what is you ain't repping Cleveland and Houston? You ain't got no Cavs jersey? Well, you did play for Houston, so I guess it's some torn allegiance there. Obviously,
no,
but every now and then you don't say a 216 or something like that.
Oh yeah, I definitely. Everyone know I'm from Cleveland. I got shirts and hats. And my cousin still works for the Cavs now. She runs the cheerleaders, so I still rep the Cavs. I should have played there a few times, but they kept lowballing me on contract offers. And it was like other teams offer $600,000-$700,000. They were offering non-guaranteed. It was like, a no-brainer. So I was like, well, and I think it was like 3 different times I was going to sign there. And it was just no, it just wouldn't work out. The contract was so low. I couldn't even consider it. Yeah, so I wish I would have played at least 1 year for the Cavs. It would have been interesting.
If only Dan Gilbert had been there then, because he sure pays. Dan Gilbert opens the wallet.
Hey, everyone's fan now. I mean, that's
true too. Because you and Mark Cuban, he's a good. He throws it out there too. So, and I don't know if Tim, in our remaining time, do you have anything you want to say? I think Mr. Lamond Murray's on the line for his 30 minutes. Yep. So,
I know Lamond.
Anything you want to say?
We played together with the Clippers.
Nice.
Yeah, I know Lamond.
So, we're about to bring him on. So, you want to, as we bring him on, you want to say anything to the listeners as we shift to Lamond?
No, just thanks for having me. And anytime you want me to come on and talk, I'll come on and talk about whatever you want to talk about. And thanks for having me and Cleveland. Hopefully we get a championship this year.
Right. Well, I mean, hey, and don't be no stranger, man. I would love to. Me and Tim hopefully gonna be doing this, getting bigger and better. And we love to. I mean, to keep having y'all on and talk about different things.
Definitely. Whatever. Just shoot me a message and then I'll call in whenever. So,
go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Lamond Murray, is that you, sir?
Hello? Yeah, I'm here. How you doing?
Yeah. Great. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Tim and Corey show. Thanks for agreeing to come on. We were just finishing up with one of your former teammates, Eric Riley. He was on before you, so he's still on.
Oh yeah, I ain't seen him in years.
So,
hello?
Mr. Murray, tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll jump into picking your brain and talking about basketball and all that good stuff.
Lamond Murray played LA Clippers 5 years, Cleveland 3, Toronto Raptors 3, and then New Jersey Nets for 1. Played overseas in China before it was popular, and then in the Middle East for about 2 years after I retired from the NBA.
So I know you. Okay, so you're from Pasadena. So what was it? Let's go back to your college stint at the University of Cal, because y'all was a special team. Y'all did me a big favor because I couldn't stand Duke. I still can't put him, even though I got mad respect for Mike Krzyzewski. He's obviously one of the greatest of all time. 4 championships, and the winning his D1 coach, I think now, and all that stuff. But I just couldn't stand him, especially. And Christian Laettner, one of the greatest college players of all time, Bobby Hurley. But let's talk about. Take me back to that young freshman you played with, who's now a coach. Amazing, ain't it amazing to see him as a coach now? Considering he was probably like your little brother at one time.
Nah, never that. He's actually a year older than me. He was.
Is he? I thought he was.
Yeah, he's actually a year older than me. But he got there when I was a sophomore. It was his freshman year.
Okay.
But we won't go all into all that. But
well, talk about what did it feel? What did it feel like to beat Duke during the tournament?
Man, that was awesome. That was one of the highlights of my life. Being able to get on that national stage. The year before we went to the NIT, like you said, J. Kidd showed up on the scene, brought the national spotlight over to us, and we just try to take it from there. We went on a nice run towards the end of that season to get us what we got. We play against Duke and make it to the Sweet 16. So, it was just an amazing time. Just going back and walking into the arena. And just seeing a sea of people. My parents couldn't make it, but it was just amazing to look in fans and just see how many people were actually in the arena at the time, and seeing us playing against Duke. And to this day, everybody talks to me about that game and remembering that game and how much money they won in Vegas.
You being modest. You put in work in the tournament. You was putting in work.
Man, I felt like I was in the best shape of my life at that time. So I had, I was shooting the ball well. I was running the floor well. I was in great condition. And I I took advantage of that opportunity.
Lamond, who was your? Oh, go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry.
Lamond, this is Tim. I just want to say your I guess it was your sophomore year that you guys made that deep run into the tournament was my senior year in high school. And the year before that, I honestly, just being honest, I really didn't pay that much attention to Cal. But
yeah, that's right.
You guys quickly became, and I'm not saying this just because you're on the show, because I don't, that's not how I am. You guys quickly became my favorite team my senior year in high school. And the one thing that, now, you did come and play for the Cavaliers, but the one thing that I remember that stands out besides that game, and you blew up in the tournament, was you have something to your game that a lot of players underestimate, and that's putting a lot of arc on your shot. And you had that high range, high arcing jump shot.
Yeah.
And you would go on streaks where, you would hit 4 or 5 in a row, and you were just feeding Jason Kidd's assist numbers real nicely. And, it kind of reminded me of Loyola Marymount, where a lot of people didn't pay attention to Marymount a few years before you guys, and they came on the national scene with Bo Kimball and Hank Gathers. And I just wanted to ask you, how was that going from having like an NIT, not really, relatively still under the, kind of shadow, not really being on the national spotlight, to being just thrust into that? And did you feel added pressure going into the tournament, knowing that now you had Bozeman as your coach and all this attention was on you guys?
Well, actually, when I came to Cal, we actually had a top 10 recruiting class. So when we came in, we had about, Monty Buckley, Al Grigsby, Steven Johnson, go down a list of guys that we had that came in that were top players from all across the country, from Texas, from Seattle. So, before Jason got there, we had just loaded up with with our recruiting class. And Lou Campanelli was the coach at the time. And, he had an old school style where he was, slowing us down a little bit. We had a lot of good athletes, and we wanted to run. And KJ Roberts was our point guard, which was my roommate. He was a top point guard coming out of Seattle at the time before Jason came in. So, we came in with a little bit of hype our freshman year. And, we thought we would do big things that year. But, like all freshmen, you have the growing pains and all that good stuff. Ended up in the NIT, which was a good experience to be able to get in the postseason. And then, once Jason got there, that, like I said, it brought that national spotlight. And then we had a coaching change midway through the season with Campanelli being fired, which was a time in the NCAA history that a coach was fired mid-season when Todd Bozeman took over on the program. And, he kept – Bozeman came in, he stuck with a lot of the stuff we were doing, but he allowed us to, play a little freer and a little bit faster-paced game. And I think that helped us flourish in the second half of the season to where we, went on a good big run down the stretch where we ran 10 in a row off, beat Arizona, was the top-ranked team in Arizona, and came into the tournament with a lot of momentum. So, I think all this stuff happens for a reason. And, he did a great job. Bozeman did a great job of making sure we're in the best shape of our career. Black coaches, they like to run you. So we came in ready to go. And so I told my son, he's over at Pepperdine now. And I was like, you're going to go play for a black coach, you better be in shape. We'll get you in shape. So
now, who Lamond, coming up as you was playing, who was your who did you pattern your game after anybody, or who was the guys you was digging? I know you had a lot of guys. You coming from Cali, so Magic, and I know you got to start right there. I know you had to be feeling Magic coming from California at that time.
Yeah, of course. We love Magic. We love Magic, but my favorite player, it still is my favorite player, is Dominique Wilkins. Very, very underrated player. Highlight reel. When I was in high school, actually I was in elementary school watching him play because all I had was TNT and TBS. So I would tune in. I'm like, Atlanta Hawks games was on all day, watching this guy come through the lane, flying through the lane, dunking on everybody, and dropping 40 a night. So, he was my favorite player. So I try to pattern my game as much as I could after him.
Yeah, you were a high riser too, Lamond. You were. Did you ever compete in the dunk contest? Or
no, I never got the chance to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried. I tried to show my little hops. Like I said, I was trying to be a 2-foot jumper like Dominique.
Right, jump up to 2 feet.
So now you played in what I consider like the end of the elite NBA. I'm kind of I'm only a year older than you, but you know, I'm like an old man. I act 20 years older than I am probably. So I'm already talking about, these guys ain't playing no ball now. You know, they ain't guys that can't even make free throw, blah, blah, blah. But saying all that to say, I mean, the people that came in with you, you know, you hitting, you initially came in, Mike was
I came in
on his
94.
retirement.
Yeah.
Wasn't Mike on retirement initially when you first came in the league?
Yeah, well, that first year when I came in, he had took a year off, and then we got a chance to really get to play against him that following year when he came back. And good story is when he was filming Space Jam, he had a gang of us out in L.A. show up to the Dome. They had built a dome for him, and that was some of the best pickup games I've ever played in my life. You know, some of the best players.
So you were out there with Reggie Miller and all those guys? When they were
I got a chance to play with everybody. You know, Reggie was in Indiana.
Wow.
I got to play against Mike, Scotty, when they won all those damn games on us, and we actually had them beat when I was with the Clippers. We had to get the ball in bounds. But that's a whole other story. But, I got to play against Karl Malone, John Stockton. There's a lot of great players.
It's like the NBA All-Star game. Y'all basically had the NBA All-Star game, right? Right.
Yeah.
Man. So who's the hardest person for you to who you think who was the toughest person? Because we know you could go. I'm going to say it. I mean, you could go. You could score.
Thank you.
So, but who gave you the most difficulty in the NBA? Or maybe, a handful of people that
Rice.
Really?
Oh, man, he lit me up my rookie year. He hit me up, man. He had like 22 in the first quarter. Ended the game with about 40, 45 on me, just running off pin downs. You know, he was the king of just coming off those pin downs and letting it fly. And, I wasn't used to chasing off screens at the time. So, he taught me a lesson about using the picks and getting his shot off. So he was a difficult guard.
Did you was pretty much strictly a small forward, or did you ever play like two? Or, okay. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm just a small forward. Yeah, I got a chance to play point guard one game in Cleveland, and damn near had a triple double. But that's a whole other story. But I played small forward.
So, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I was going to say, I remember watching live you play in '96 in California against the Bulls, and I think Jordan had like 49 in overtime.
Yeah, that's the game. Yep.
Yeah, I remember watching
that game in
overtime. That was an unbelievable. You had a good game that game too.
I had a good game. Yeah.
Down the stretch, I remember you hit some big shots down the stretch. In that game, but that was.
I just knew we was gonna win. You know what got us though? We came out of the timeout. All we had to do was get the ball in bounds, and at the time the rule was you couldn't put the ball from the sideline into the backcourt.
Right.
We didn't know that coming out of the fucking timeout. Our guard runs into the backcourt. We have Lorenzen Wright taking the ball out on the sideline, which he never takes the ball out. Usually I take the ball out. Small forward does. And he throws the ball to the backcourt. Violation. They get the ball. Tied up, going to fucking overtime. We get it in. They have the foul. Game over. Unbelievable.
I still have that game recorded on VHS somewhere. I still have that game recorded.
Yeah, you checked out. Unbelievable.
What's your career high? Go ahead, Tim.
I was going to ask you. You mentioned that you played in China. Now, Stephen Marbury's having like a Hall of Fame career in China right now. I guess he won his third championship recently or whatever. But you said that your experience in China before it really has gotten the exposure it has now with a lot of NBA players. Because I think Andre Black is over there, Will Bynum, a lot of notable current NBA players that could still be in the NBA are over there. How was your experience playing over there in China?
Man, my experience was awesome. Except for the food. You know, I went back down to my playing weight in high school. Because the food over there was something that you can only experience by being there. There's no such thing as Chinese food in China. So just imagine that. But it was cool. You know, it was, the one thing that was really demanding was the travel. You know, it'd be like 4-hour bus ride to the airport because China is huge. And then some flights we'd be on the plane for 8 hours going across from one end of China to the other end of China. And then get off and do another 4-hour bus ride. So and that was like the Olympic year, like 2007 year, right before the Olympics, 2008. And then we actually won the CBA title that year with the Guangdong Tigers that I played for, who had came off a run. They actually ran about 4 out of the last 6 titles before I got there. So, you know, it was interesting to go out there and really see how tall Chinese people really are. You know, everybody was normal height out there. You know, you would imagine, you know, I'll be playing center or something. But I was actually playing this my natural position. You know, a lot of 7'3" guys, 7'6", 6'9" small forwards, 6'8" small forwards, 6'5" two guards, 6'3" point guards. I couldn't believe it, and they were pretty decent players, you know, at the time. So it was eye-opening to get out there and really see what was going on.
You opening my eyes now, because I mean, again, we would think that, and that's where even today with the internet and all that, our perception of the other parts of the world is still very skewed. But I think Stephon Marbury's won at least. He's won the Chinese championship 3 out of the last 4 or 5 years. So, and I'm happy for him because we know based on he wasn't doing too good, you know, in that stint of YouTube video, blah blah blah. So it's nice to see that he's like really got it together for him. So that's a good thing. I was asking you, I'm a numbers guy. Well, Tim is too. Tim's more. He's really perked up. You know, his he's Mr. NBA and numbers and all that stuff. So, but so this is he's like savoring this for real. But what was your? Give me your career highs if you remember. But I got a feeling you're a numbers guy too. You went back. You was like reliving the Bulls game in your head, so I know that you keep stats and all that stuff in your mind. You seem like right. So give me your career high in high school, college, and the pros.
Oh, man, I'm really not that big of a numbers guy, though.
Come on, just roundabout.
Okay, around 57 in high school. Let me see. College, I think it was about 35. In college, had a 35-point game, and then in the pros, it was like 45.
57.
I think. I don't know. Yeah, I had 57 one game. I had to do that.
Yeah, that'll get you.
Our team, was just, was our first chance at winning a conference championship ever in high school. I actually went to high school in the Bay Area. I was in Fremont, California. I'm born in Pasadena, but raised in the Bay. And that's probably a lot of the reason why I went to Cal, because my family was right there in the Bay Area. But yeah, I had to drop 57, man. I didn't even know I had that many points until the end of the game. I had to score and one just for us to win the game. So it was a hard-fought game, and we beat a team that we had never beaten in a championship. And I got that one on video. I missed a gang of shots too.
Wow.
Listen, I'll be honest. If you would have stayed a year, if you would have stayed a year longer with the Cavs and been here when LeBron got here, you would have helped us probably get into the playoffs that first year. His rookie year, because it would have been
I remember that.
Carlos Boozer and LeBron.
Yeah, they was cleaning house though, to make the team as sorry as they possibly make it. So they can get LeBron at the time. Right. That's it. I mean, you got to think about this. Just listen to this one. We had Andre Miller, led the league in assists that year. He had Wesley Persons on the right side, and I was on the left side. And we was draining shots. threes or whatever. And, and that summer they got rid of all three of us.
Yeah,
I forgot about Wesley.
Yeah.
Man, do you still since he's because Andre from Cali too, isn't he? Is he for that?
Yeah.
You still keep in touch with him?
I see him from time to time in the summer because he's still playing. So,
right.
In the summer I'll run into him at different functions and call him an old man now since he was my rookie when he came in. Now he's an old vet.
Right.
I see that your first cousin is Tracy Murray. So y'all did y'all used to go at it? Y'all used to.
Nah, he was in L.A. and I was up in the Bay Area at the time, like I was saying. And funny story is when I came down to visit one time, I was in 8th grade, and I think he was a sophomore in high school. He just turned 16. He just got his brand new car, and at the time he was like 6'6" already, and I was probably 5'10", 5'11", and we came down and played in the Michael Cooper camp, and he was out there showing out and top player in California, running off 45 points a game in high school, like breaking state records and shit. So it was interesting just to see later on when we were able to match up when he was at UCLA and I was at Cal. And I finally grew into my body, and just being able to match up against him, and and do some good things, basically, there and in the pros, basically. So it was cool. We had a good long career. He played, I think, 12 years in the league. I played 12. So it was a blessing to have two family members that were ever playing the NBA around the same time.
Does he ever talk junk to you that he dropped 50 in a game in the NBA? He ever talk?
Oh yeah. He still talks a little trash, like, well, shit, I dropped 50 in a game. You didn't do that. But the funny story is the arena that he dropped that 50 in. I actually went to watch him his senior year in high school, and they made it to state, and they was actually in the Golden State Warriors arena. That's called the Oracle Arena now. But he dropped 64 in that arena in high school, which was an all-time record in that arena for any player to ever play in that arena. So that was like coming back to home when he dropped that 50 that year.
So he was familiar. So he had familiarity.
He was familiar with it. That's right.
So the Murrays are just a family of scorers, basically. You guys just know how to.
Put it in the basket.
Up the scoreboard. Yeah.
What does your son play?
You played.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
No. What position does your son play, Lamond?
He's more like a 2 or 3. He kind of goes in between. Up at Pepperdine, 6'5". He's a pretty good shooter.
Nice.
Pretty good shooter. Sophomore right now, so he's getting better and better. And I have a daughter who plays volleyball at Long Beach State, so she's pretty good too. She got all the
you played about 18 years of professional, for your career, about 18 years professionally. What are you passing to your son and daughter so that they can kind of have that long, wisdom you're giving them to have that type of longevity you have?
Man, I did it, and I really didn't take that great of care of my body, and I didn't eat as good as I possibly could have ate. So that's one thing I try and impart to them, like, their diet and in their conditioning will give them longevity in whatever sport they decide they want to play. So that's the main piece of advice.
Congratulations
on it. My son both do it.
I was going to say congratulations on them.
Oh, go ahead, Corey.
I was just saying congratulations on being inducted into the Pac-12 Hall of Fame. That's big.
Oh, wow.
Or Hall of Honor. Yeah, that's considering all the people that came from the Pac-12. Well, we used to be the Pac-10, Kareem and Bill Walton and all that. So that's no joke, man.
That's right.
That's a big time. Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry.
No, I just was to say I saw a documentary recently called The Iran Job, where they were showing an American player playing in the Middle East, How was your time over there in the Middle? How was your time over there in the Middle East playing?
Man, it was lovely. I got a chance to travel all over Egypt. I got to do speaking engagements in Jordan. I mean, I got to do some wonderful things out there. We actually were on an island called Bahrain, which is only an hour from Dubai. So I got to go to Dubai a few times and hang out, and you know, it was really interesting. The things that you're allowed to do when you get out there that a lot of people don't think is going on. They think it's a dry situation where you're talking about no alcohol, you know, no narcotics, basically. But where I was at, they call it Las Vegas of the Middle East. So we had alcohol, we had women from all the different countries. You just go down the list, and we had the 5th Naval Fleet on the island. So you'd be amazed about the cars you see rolling down the street. You think you was in L.A.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome though. People treated me really well. Fans were great. You know, I had a great time out there. I almost didn't want to come back.
Wow.
I can imagine, yeah.
It was awesome. They're doing wonderful things out there, man. They was out there building land in the ocean. I'm like, how you doing that? They're like filling the ocean with land, and I came back to the island, and it was a whole new island the next year. And then next year I came back, it was another whole new island with buildings on the water, basically. And they were
that's amazing.
filling the ocean with sand and making the island bigger than it was. I couldn't believe it, the stuff that they were out there doing. So a lot of people think it's a lot of bad things going on out there. I know they have a few civil wars going on in Egypt and in different areas of the Middle East, but it's not as bad as, you know, we portray it. Because I was out there when a few of the civil wars were going on, and you know, we were good. We were walking down the street, we eating at Fuddruckers and, you know, Starbucks and Krispy Kreme and everything we got here, they got out there. So
amazing. Wow.
TGI Fridays, whatever you want.
How much has basketball changed your life? Go ahead.
Oh, man, it's been a great life changer. You know, before basketball, I never got a chance to travel anywhere outside of my region or outside of the city I was living in, you know. And basketball allowed me to travel all over the United States. You have to, you know, go to every city in the United States, go all over Canada, go all over the world, you know. So I've gotten trips, you know, where, we just want you to come out and do some yoga in Fiji. You know, through basketball. So it's just like, wow, I could go to Fiji Island. When you get there, and we have barbecues on islands, opening coconuts and jet skiing, and just to get up in the morning and do some yoga. Wow. So, you know, just amazing the opportunities that have been awarded to me by playing basketball, and so grateful for the game.
Tim, you was going to say something.
No, I was just going to say, so it was safe to say that you didn't have problems keeping your playing weight up in the Middle East as you did in China, because they had all the American food out there.
Oh, yeah. I had to try to keep my weight down.
You know what, though? One of the things I noticed about you, and I'm not going to name other names, but specifically when you played with the Cavs, you were one of the better conditioned Cavs players at your stint with the Cavs. Specifically, I remember watching a lot of games. I actually went to a lot of games in that era. And you've always been a pretty. I know you said you didn't really watch what you ate, but you were always. And I know Mike Fratello slowed down the pace for the Cavaliers, but I always saw your game seem like it really thrived in like a up tempo atmosphere.
Yeah, that's just how we learn how to play on the West Coast. Everything's up tempo. We're getting up and down, pushing the ball. You know, the West Coast fast break. You know, so you know, that's why I was able to thrive so well with Jason. You know, we were able to get up and down the floor and just improvise on the fly. You know, and I really hated playing half-court basketball, but you know, it's like I said, it's just a West Coast thing. And anytime I got a chance to get up and down the floor, I thrive in the game. So,
Lamond, thank you so much, brother, for coming through. I know I was like stalking y'all on Facebook and all that stuff, but I appreciate the revamped, the brand new, bigger and better Tim and Corey show. Please know that the door is open to you and the other guys to come back if y'all choose. I would love to have you anytime. Just you want to come back, or we have panels or things of that nature, or so we look to just really grow the show. So I really appreciate it as we wrap the show up.
Yeah, just give me a call. I talk about all kind of things. I talked about NCSA, talked about the kids in the recruiting process, I talked about all that kind of stuff. So anything y'all want to talk about, just let me know and we can dive into it.
All right.
Tim, you got anything to say before we wrap up?
Well, I just want to say that I do appreciate Lamond Murray coming on, very insightful, fabulous professional and collegiate career, and just wanted to say thanks to all our guests. We launched our show bigger and better, and definitely enjoyed doing the show. I enjoyed speaking to Lamond. Lamond brought a lot of insight, giving us a lot of insight on basketball overseas and just great stories, just a lot of information. So I do want to say to Lamond specifically, I do appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you guys, too.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you.
All right. Have a great evening.
All right. You too.
Thank you.
All right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the show as much as Tim and I. This was kind of new for us on the Tim and Corey show. We were used to just doing our thing, but now, again, we're reaching out and bringing people from a wide variety of backgrounds and some very notable people, very accomplished people. So stay tuned. We started out with a buddy of mine, TC, with a controversial topic, I'm sure, and then the show just totally changed. So I want to thank, even though y'all not hearing this live, but you'll hear it in the archives when you listen. Hopefully you'll listen. See, now you got to listen to the whole show because we throwing several things at you. It's not just one thing for 2 hours or whatever. We got it's a variety. That's why we call it the variety show. So I want to thank TC for coming on, Coach Corey Mayfield, Eric Riley, and Lamond Murray. So, in the first show, we just jumping out with all kind of stuff. I'm telling you. So we working hard.
Gotta say, we keep you on your toes. This show will keep you on your toes. You don't know where the show will turn conversation-wise.
Exactly. And it went pretty smoothly. We, and hopefully, you see, a lot of times people, when they come on, think that a certain time number of minutes will be so long, and certain people, they could go a lot longer once they get their juices flowing. So we look forward to having some of the guys back on. I think because I hated to have cut Coach Corey off. He was flowing. He was saying some good stuff, so we'll definitely have to. And sometimes we may give people more than a 30-minute slot. Show will be on, I should have said in the beginning, we'll be on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. Coming up next Tuesday, March 31st, the last day of March, and hopefully the last day of winter in Cleveland, Ohio. Hopefully for us.
The day before my birthday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Shout out to the old man right there. But we'll have our guests coming on next week. We have another full slate. We have Sean Adams, who's a radio personality for 1300 AM in Austin. We have former NBA player Stan Kimbrough. We have a close buddy of mine, Stephanie Phillips, who is a blog talk host herself and owner of Stephanie's Book Report. So she's the go-to lady for book reviews. And then we have an author Jennifer Ragosa, who is an accomplished best-selling author. So we hit you with a lot of areas. So tonight was a heavy dose of sports, a little bit of football, a lot of bit of NBA. But it could be we're going to have motivational speakers on. We're going to have it could be actors, actresses, singers, lawyers, all kind of stuff. So just stay tuned. Feel free to join the Tim and Corey Show Facebook group, and also you can follow us on Twitter, the Tim and Corey Show, or Tim and Corey. It's not it's Tim and Corey Show on Twitter, at Tim and Corey Show. So we look forward to your support. Give us feedback. Let us know, if there's guests who would like to come on the show, contact us, and we'll try to pencil you in or see if it's a good fit. So stay tuned. We got a lot of good things coming. So everybody, thanks for listening. Have a good night.